12 dark psychology tricks that are dangerous. You see, family, the mind is a beautiful, brilliant, and sometimes fragile thing. And when you don't know how it works, somebody else can take the steering wheel and drive you to a place you never planned to go. I need you to lean in, because today we're peeling back the curtain on the 12 dangerous tricks of dark psychology, the kind people use to pull your strings without you even knowing it. Number 1, gaslighting. This is when someone makes you doubt your own memory, your own truth. They twist the facts so much that you start to think you're losing your mind. If you've ever said, "Maybe I am overreacting," over and over again, that's a red flag. Number 2, love bombing. It feels like the sweetest romance, the warmest friendship. They shower you with praise, attention, and gifts until you're hooked. Then they pull it away to control your emotions like a light switch. Number 3, fear appeal. People will create or exaggerate fear to make you compliant. If they can make you afraid, they can make you obedient. Number 4, the foot in the door technique. It starts small. "Can you do me a tiny favor?" Before you know it, the requests get bigger and saying no becomes harder. Number 5, projection. They blame you for the very things they are guilty of. It keeps you distracted, defending yourself instead of seeing the truth. Number 6, the scarcity principle. Last chance, limited offer, once in a lifetime. Scarcity pushes you to act before you think. Number 7, guilt tripping. They make you feel responsible for their emotions, twisting kindness into obligation. Number 8, triangulation. They pull in a third person to create rivalry, jealousy, or division, so they remain in control of the narrative. Number 9, the silent treatment. Withdrawal of communication to punish or manipulate you into compliance. Number 10, social proof manipulation. They surround themselves with proof, fake testimonials, biased opinions, fabricated popularity, so you trust them without evidence. Number 11, anchoring. They set an extreme first option so that anything after seems reasonable in comparison, even if it's still not good for you. Number 12, the halo effect. If they can make you believe they're great in one area, you might excuse toxic behavior in another. These aren't just tricks, they're psychological weapons. And when you know them, you can spot them in a heartbeat. You can stop them at the doorway of your mind. Because, baby, your mental freedom is not up for negotiation. Awareness is the very first line of defense, and it is also the foundation for your personal power. You cannot guard yourself from what you cannot see, and you cannot name what you do not know. There's a reason why, throughout history, people have been controlled not just by weapons or chains, but by ignorance. Because when you are unaware of what's really happening, when the fog is thick enough, someone else can write the story of your life for you. They can slip their hands into the strings of your emotions and pull them in ways you won't even notice until you're exhausted, confused, or broken down. Think about it. Imagine walking through a forest with your eyes closed. Every branch that hits you, every stone you trip over feels random, painful, and unavoidable. But if your eyes were open, if you could see the path, most of those obstacles could be stepped around, avoided entirely. That's exactly what awareness does when it comes to dark psychology. It's not about becoming paranoid or suspicious of everyone you meet. It's about learning to keep your eyes wide open in a world where some people thrive on keeping them shut. When you're aware, you start noticing patterns in conversations that used to fly right over your head. You pick up on the slight changes in someone's tone when they want to manipulate you. You catch how certain words are repeated again and again, not by accident, but with a very intentional purpose. Awareness turns every interaction into a place where you have choice, real choice. Without it, your choices are illusions, carefully crafted to lead you exactly where someone else wants you to go. But here's the thing, awareness doesn't come naturally when you've been conditioned to. be nice, to go along to get along, or to not make waves. Many of us have been trained since childhood to overlook the uncomfortable, to excuse the inconsistent, and to smooth over the tension. And predators, whether emotional, psychological, or social, are counting on that. They bank on your politeness, on your desire to keep peace, on your willingness to doubt yourself before you ever doubt them. Awareness changes the equation. It sharpens your perception so you're no longer swayed by charm alone, no longer disarmed by flattery, no longer guilted into silence when your gut is screaming at you to speak. It makes you pause and say, wait a minute, what's really happening here? That pause is powerful. It's the crack in the door where manipulation loses its momentum. And let me tell you, awareness isn't just about spotting the obvious tricks. It's about seeing the invisible threads. It's about catching the micro expressions on someone's face when they're telling you something untrue. It's about realizing that the person who showers you with attention when they want something disappears when you need them. It's about hearing not just what's being said, but what's being left out. The beauty of awareness is that it doesn't make you colder. It makes you clearer. You can still have compassion, still love deeply, still connect with people, but you do it from a place of strength instead of blind trust. It means you can extend kindness without letting someone weaponize it against you. It means you can forgive without giving repeated access to someone who's shown you they're willing to harm. And this kind of awareness doesn't happen overnight. It grows every time you reflect on your experiences, every time you trust your intuition instead of silencing it, every time you learn about the psychology behind human behavior. It's in the moments you decide that your peace of mind is worth more than pleasing someone else. Awareness is a light in the darkness, and when that light is on, manipulation struggles to survive, because a trick can only work if it stays hidden. Once you've named it, once you've seen it for what it is, its power starts to crumble. That's why learning about dark psychology isn't about fear. It's about freedom. The more you know, the less control anyone has over you without your consent. And that, my friend, is where your real power begins. Human behavior can be one of the most beautiful forces in the world, and yet, when placed in the wrong hands, it can become a dangerous weapon. The truth is, people can be influenced in ways so subtle, so calculated, that they have no idea it's happening until the damage is done. When you understand that behavior, yours and others, can be manipulated, you start to see that every interaction has layers. On the surface, there are the words, the actions, the tone. But underneath, there's motivation, intention, and sometimes a quiet, deliberate plan to lead you somewhere you didn't choose to go. See, human behavior isn't random. Every decision we make, every emotion we feel, every reaction we give is tied to patterns, needs, and beliefs that have been built over years. Manipulators study these patterns, sometimes instinctively, sometimes deliberately, and they learn how to push the right buttons to get the outcome they want. That's why some people can step into a room and within minutes have you feeling like you've known them forever. It's not magic. It's reading cues, mirroring your energy, saying what you want to hear so you'll lower your guard. And it's not always aggressive or loud. In fact, the most dangerous manipulations are often quiet. They happen in conversations where you're laughing, feeling understood. And before you know it, you've agreed to something you wouldn't have considered a week ago. It might be changing your opinion on an important decision. It might be giving your time, your money, your trust, without realizing that you were nudged step by step toward that choice. Manipulation works best when it feels like your own idea. That's the brilliance of it and the danger. A skilled manipulator won't shove you. They'll guide you so gently that you walk willingly into the place they wanted you to be. And because it feels like your choice, You'll defend it even if it's hurting you. What makes this so tricky is that it plays on natural human instincts, our desire to connect, to be accepted, to feel significant. When someone reflects back your values, your dreams, your pain, you're wired to trust them. That's why con artists, toxic partners, and even corrupt leaders can gain such loyalty. They don't win it by force. They earn it through calculated emotional alignment. But here's where your awareness becomes your armor. Once you understand that human behavior can be shaped, once you realize that your emotions can be targeted, you start asking deeper questions. Why is this person so eager to agree with everything I say? Why are they offering help so quickly, so generously without knowing me? Why do I feel pressured to make this decision right now? These questions pull you out of autopilot and into conscious choice. And don't mistake this for cynicism. It's not about distrusting everyone. It's about noticing patterns and deciding for yourself whether they're healthy. It's about knowing that if someone is pushing your emotions into overdrive, making you feel euphoric, fearful, guilty, or overly grateful, that intensity might be a signal to slow down, not speed up. One of the most empowering realizations is that you can reverse the power dynamic. You can still enjoy the beauty of connection while keeping your mind clear. You can appreciate a compliment without feeling indebted. You can hear someone's story without taking on the role they're quietly assigning you. You can see their behavior for what it is without letting it dictate your next move. And when you live with that kind of discernment, you become far less of a target. Manipulators thrive in the spaces where people act without thinking, where emotions override logic. When you understand that your behavior can be guided, you take back the steering wheel. You may still be influenced by kindness, compassion, or inspiration, but it will be by choice, not by design you didn't agree to. That is where your freedom lies, and that is where your strength becomes unshakable. Emotions are the heartbeat of every decision we make, the invisible current beneath every choice, every relationship, every reaction. They're powerful, beautiful when they inspire connection, dangerous when they're used as tools for control. And that's exactly why emotions are often the first target for anyone practicing dark psychology. They know if they can stir your feelings, they can bypass your logic. They don't have to argue with your reasoning if they can convince your heart. Think about the times you've made a choice in the heat of excitement or under the weight of fear or from the ache of guilt. In those moments, your brain isn't working the same way it does when you're calm and collected. Neurologically, when strong emotions surge, your rational thinking narrows. Your body goes into a state of reaction, not reflection. That's when you're most vulnerable to influence. Manipulators study these moments. They know that if they can amplify an emotion, make it sharper, deeper, or more urgent, they can lead you where they want you to go. Fear is one of the most common tools. If they can make you believe you'll lose something important, be left out, or face danger, you're more likely to act quickly without questioning the situation. They might exaggerate threats, spread misinformation, or hint at consequences that may not even be real, just to keep you compliant. On the other end of the spectrum, they might use desire. They'll dangle the exact thing you've been longing for. A dream job, the perfect relationship, a rare opportunity, so vividly that you feel like it's already in your hands. And because you're emotionally invested in that vision, you're willing to overlook red flags, ignore inconsistencies, and silence your instincts. Desire becomes the leash, and they hold it tightly. Then there's guilt, one of the most corrosive emotional levers. A manipulator can twist your natural empathy, making you feel responsible for their happiness, their success, even their mistakes. You start apologizing for things you didn't do, saying yes when you mean no, bending your own values just to avoid the discomfort of feeling like you've let them down. That's not love or loyalty. It's control disguised as obligation. Even positive emotions can be weaponized. Joy, admiration, excitement, when used in excess, can be just as blinding. Think of the too good to be true scenarios. The whirlwind romance, where someone showers you with affection until you're addicted to the high. The charismatic leader who rallies a crowd with passion and charisma until the crowd stops questioning and starts following without hesitation. These feelings are intoxicating, and in that intoxication, critical thinking fades. What makes this form of manipulation so dangerous is that it feels natural. You don't notice it happening because emotions are meant to be part of the human experience. We're not wired to distrust our own hearts, but that's exactly why emotional manipulation is so effective. It blends in with what's normal. It doesn't feel like a trap until you realize you've been acting against your own best interest. The shift happens when you learn to slow down and name your emotions in the moment. Instead of just feeling fear, you ask, is this fear based on fact or suggestion? Instead of basking in praise, you wonder, is this praise meant to connect with me or to hook me? Instead of drowning in guilt, you remind yourself, their feelings are their responsibility, not my leash. Emotional awareness doesn't mean shutting your feelings off. It means honoring them without handing over your decision-making power. It means you can still be deeply moved by kindness without being bought, still feel urgency without being rushed into a mistake, still love without losing yourself in the process. When you recognize that emotions are often the first target for control, you start protecting them like you'd protect anything precious. Because once someone has a grip on your emotions, they don't have to take your freedom. You'll hand it to them without even realizing it. But when you guard your emotions with awareness, they stop being the strings someone else can pull, and they return to what they were always meant to be, your own compass, pointing you toward truth. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates that protect what's inside. They're not about isolation. They're about preservation. And when it comes to protecting yourself from dark psychology, boundaries are your strongest shield. Without them, you are an open field where anyone can plant seeds, whether they're seeds of love, fear, or manipulation. With them, you decide what grows in your soil. People who use manipulation often dislike boundaries because boundaries mean control stays in your hands. They rely on blurred lines and unspoken rules to maneuver their way into your time, your energy, your decisions. If you've ever felt drained after a conversation, pressured into saying yes, or guilty for saying no, that's a sign someone has tested or crossed your boundaries. And if you don't notice it happening, the erosion is slow but dangerous. Before long, you find yourself living on someone else's terms without even realizing how it happened. Boundaries are more than just saying no. They are clear definitions of what you will and will not allow, how you expect to be treated, and where your responsibilities end. They are the way you tell the world, I value myself, and I expect you to do the same. But here's the truth. Boundaries are not just set once. They are reinforced daily in the small choices you make. Every time you respond to a late night text when you wanted to sleep, every time you agree to something that goes against your values to keep the peace, every time you laugh off a comment that cut you deep, you're sending signals about the strength of your boundaries. Manipulators will always test those signals. They might do it with charm, making you feel special so you'll bend your rules for them. They might do it with guilt, suggesting you're selfish or cold for protecting your time. They might do it with anger, hoping you'll back down to avoid conflict. And sometimes they'll do it with persistence, because the longer they push, the more likely they believe you'll give in. The power of strong boundaries is that they turn these tactics into red flags instead of invitations. When you know your limits, you see manipulation not as something to negotiate with, but as a sign to stand firmer. If someone gets upset because you have boundaries, that's not proof you're being unfair. It's proof they were benefiting from your lack of them. Healthy boundaries don't just protect you from harm, they also attract the right kind of relationships. When you make it clear that respect is non-negotiable, people who value respect will draw closer, and people who want control will drift away. It's like tuning your frequency. When you broadcast self-respect, those who can't match it won't stick around. Setting boundaries can be uncomfortable, especially if you're used to pleasing others or if you've been taught that being nice means always being available. But discomfort is temporary. Regret for not protecting yourself lasts much longer. The first time you say, "No, that doesn't work for me," and stick to it, you'll feel a rush of strength that tells you you're reclaiming your power. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're essential. They give you the space to think clearly, the freedom to make choices without pressure, and the clarity to know which connections are genuine. Without them, every yes can be taken as an open invitation for more intrusion. With them, every yes is intentional and given freely, not out of fear, guilt, or manipulation. In the realm of dark psychology, boundaries are like a fortress. They don't just keep manipulators at bay. They remind you of your worth every single day. Because when you decide what's allowed and what's not, you're no longer living reactively. You're living with purpose, on your terms, and that is a power no manipulator can take from you. When you bring all of this together, awareness, understanding how human behavior can be manipulated, recognizing emotions as the primary target, and guarding yourself with strong boundaries, you begin to see the world with a clarity that few people ever reach. You're no longer walking through life on autopilot, reacting to whatever comes your way. You are choosing, and that choice is everything. The truth is, dark psychology isn't just something you read about in books or see in movies. It's present in workplaces, relationships, social media, marketing, politics. Everywhere human interaction exists. It's not always malicious, but when it is, the cost can be your freedom, your self-esteem, and even your identity. And the reason it's so dangerous is that it often hides in plain sight. It doesn't come with a warning label. It doesn't announce itself. It whispers, nudges, and weaves itself into moments that feel normal until you step back and see the pattern. But now you know the pattern. You've seen the tricks for what they are. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. That's the gift of knowledge. It transforms your life quietly at first, then profoundly. You start catching these subtle shifts in someone's tone when they're steering you toward a decision. You recognize when urgency is manufactured. You notice when guilt is being used as a leash. And instead of being swept into the current, you stand on the shore, choosing if and when you want to step in. And here's something powerful, because the same awareness that protects you also empowers you to protect others. You become the friend who notices when someone is being gaslighted. You're the colleague who sees through manipulative workplace politics. You're the family member who helps someone understand that love should never require losing themselves. In a world where so many people are asleep to these tactics, your clarity can be the wake-up call they desperately need. This isn't about building a life where you trust no one. It's about building a life where your trust is earned, where your yes is sacred, and where your no carries weight. It's about knowing that emotions are beautiful and necessary, but they're yours to navigate, not someone else's to control. It's about drawing boundaries so clearly that even the boldest manipulator knows they can't cross them without consequence. You are not powerless in the face of dark psychology. You are not destined to be a puppet in someone else's play. You have the tools, the insight, and the strength to walk through this world with both an open heart and a guarded mind. That balance Compassion without naivety, trust without blindness, love without losing yourself is where your true power lies. So walk forward with your eyes open, your spirit steady, and your boundaries strong. Because when you own your mind, no one else can. And in that ownership lies the freedom to live fully, love deeply, and protect fiercely the one thing that should never be negotiable: your peace.